Okay, digital applications, welcome back. We are looking at PowerPoint Activity 7, and we're going to get to that in just a moment. Today we're going to talk mainly about pictures, okay, and a little bit about copyright. So let's get to it. So from here, we are continuing on building that same PowerPoint presentation we were working for Activity 6. Now, I've already renamed this. You should do the same. Go into File, save a copy, save a new copy, and make sure that you change that name to PowerPoint Activity 7. Dot your initials. Okay? And here we are on PowerPoint Activity 7. And what we're going to do is we're going to add some pictures. So we have a prime target here on slide 3. Slide 3 has a little bit of text. It has a lot of white space that makes this slide look pretty empty. Okay, so this is there's a couple ways that I would fix this so that it doesn't look so vacant. But one way that we can do that is by adding some pictures. Okay. So here in PowerPoint, you're probably looking at the Home tab. We're going to go over to the Insert tab here, and we're going to look at pictures. And we've got some kind of cool, interesting things going on here that's kind of new in PowerPoint. So first off, we're going to go down and look at Bing Pictures. This is going to search the internet through for pictures using the Bing search engine. So it's a proprietary, it belongs to Bing, which belongs to Microsoft. Okay, so you could go onto a separate web browser and you could go into Google Chrome and you could search and you would get probably different pictures, but using the Bing Pictures does have some advantages with this program here. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to look for a picture called Design. Okay, something that's related to the themes of the slide that we're creating here. So I'm going to click Design, and here I'm going to have a list of pictures that I can search through. Okay. And for most of you, that's exactly what you do. You write in your search term and you'd go and you'd look down and you'd find a picture that makes you happy. Okay? All right. A couple of things that I wanted to show you here is this little filter tool. So my slide, if you can kind of see the thumbnails over here, I'm working with mainly greens and oranges. So here's my filter button. If I go down, you can see that you can actually filter your sort filter your search a couple of different ways. We can look at different sized images, different types. Okay, if I go down to the bottom, I can actually search by a specific color. So if I wanted it to make sure it matched that kind of green color, I could click on green here and look, I get only design pictures that have to do with that are green, that have green in them. Okay, maybe I want to work with an accent color. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click on orange. All right, so here I've got design pictures that are orange. So this way you can kind of control, if you're looking for a specific look and feel to try to make this look really professional, you can use those kinds of filters. If I'm sick of those filters, I can either click all colors, or there's a little button down here that says clear all filters. What I want you to do to follow along with me is we're going to go and so I just cleared my filters. The first thing that we're going to do together is we're going to add a transparent image. So the transparent is the only filter I have. And what's cool about transparent images is that all of the area around the picture you can see through, okay? It is transparent, which means you don't have to worry about, like, if it's not a transparent image, the white would actually show up on a colored background. And so that can be, you know, disruptive. This is curious to me, how that's transparent. But what I want for you guys to pick, oh, and the other cool thing that sometimes you have with transparencies are you can find things that work as like creative borders, right? So you can put borders around text and stuff like that. I could put my text inside here, and you would be able to see inside that kind of white area. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on this design image right here. You should be able to find it. If you really can't find it, just find something similar. Okay, and once I've selected it, I'm going to insert. Now, when I first insert this image, I can see down at the bottom, it attaches, and this is something that the Bing Images does for you, is it attaches a license. Okay, now, let's talk about this for a second. When you use art off the internet, when you use images off of the internet, that is potentially like a copyright infringement. And yes, you are responsible for knowing when you're using other people's work. You're responsible for attributing, you know, the source of that picture. And, you know, when we're in school, we get in this bad habit because, by and large, if you're using images just for class, for classroom exercises, the only intention is that you're going to share that image with your classmates and your teacher. That's a safe space. Like, no one's going to, you know, sue you for copyright infringement because you're doing a classroom assignment. But when you, if you are posting YouTube videos, which is shared publicly, if you are, you know, creating your own website, if you are doing anything that is intended to make money at all, the images that you use have to be properly sourced, and that can set you up for being sued. Quite literally. And I will tell you this, that with technology as it is today, it's actually really not hard for artists and people, you know, who are professionals to track how their images are being used, and to find them being used improperly, without proper citation. But, okay, so that's kind of the responsibility here. So in the classroom, shared with students and teachers, if that's the end of the story for the project, you can pretty much use images how you like, and that's fine. But it's also building a bad habit, because out in the real world, if you're using it for work, if you're using it for profession, or even things, you know, leisurely online, but it's published for the world to see, you know, you get into a much kind of stickier area. One thing that is really useful to understand, or is really helpful in this, is, you know, if I look at this image and I read the bottom, it says this photo by unknown author is licensed under CC. Okay. CC is what's called Creative Commons, and Creative Commons is a is a way for people to publish their own stuff and allow it to be used by the public in a way that's not gonna, you know, that's gonna be okay, and it's not gonna. It makes it so that people can freely use people's intellectual property. Okay, my wife actually uses this a lot with her teaching in TCC. She's creating different handouts and different assignments, and she uses, she creates, you know, art that teaches, and then she publishes it with a Creative Commons license, which allows other people to use it under certain conditions. And just to get a clearer example, I'm going to follow this little link here. I'm going to hold Control and click on this CC. And whenever you see that CC, it should have this little link, and this is going to tell you a little bit about, in very like simple terms, what you can do with this image, you know, fairly. So here, this is the license that they've associated with this picture. And they say very clearly, you are free to share. You can copy and redistribute this picture in any medium and in any format. You are able to adapt this. You're able to remix it, transform it, build upon this material. So I can change this in a lot. That's a pretty open permission, okay? Under the following terms, I must give appropriate credit, which means that if there's a name associated with this picture, I want to make sure that I say, you know, picture by so-and-so. And it also wants you to indicate if changes were made. You know, if I recolored it a different color, different set of colors, I would say, you know, recolored picture by so-and-so. Non-commercial. So this is the big one. You're not allowed to make money off of this image. So if you were doing something, you know, that generated income, this is not an image that you should use doing that. And you could get in trouble for using this image for commercial purposes. You couldn't print it out on a keychain and then sell that keychain with this image, you know, and so on. You can print it on a t-shirt and then sell that t-shirt for money. That would be against the law as per this license. Okay? I like the Creative Commons is really trying to make licensing really easy for people who want to share their art, but maybe under certain conditions, you know, like I just don't want people doing these kinds of things with my image. Okay. All right. So here's this little printout for Creative Commons. I'm going to close that now that we've looked at it. Because this photo is by an unknown author, I'm actually okay with deleting this, okay? Because it's not actually appropriately attributing this to anyone anyways, right? I'm going to delete that. Here, I'm going to go back to my image. Using the Shift key, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to make this just a little bit larger to fill up this space and try to find kind of a central location between my text up here and my footer down here. Okay, so if I have a transparent image that has a flat white background, as a general rule of thumb, you do not need to put a border around here. You can, and if I select on the image and I click on picture, I have the ability to put different frames around it, okay? But I'm going to give you a better example next. Let's move on. Lord, I talked a lot about that. Okay, but we're going to move forward. All right, so the next image that we're going to do Insert Pictures from Bing. Here, I'm going to put computer design. All right, we're using Creative Commons only. So we've got a little checkbox that makes sure that I'm only using Creative Commons photos. I search for computer design. And here, I'm going to choose something like this. Looks great. Okay. All right. This again is associated with an unknown author. You saw a little piece of text pop up here, and I'm going to show you that in a second. Okay, so I'm going to delete this under the same idea as before. Okay, it's not attributed to anyone, so I don't feel like I need to attribute it to anyone. All right, I'm going to put it here, and I am going to expand this to make it nice and big. I'm holding the Shift key, and that's going to keep it proportioned to itself. All right. Now what I have here is an image that has a gray border. Anytime you have a border that's not flat white, I would encourage you as best practice to give it a frame. All right, we're going to do that real quick. Picture, I'm going to find this green color that matches up here. Boom. And I'm going to make it nice and thick.